Game's not over yet.
Oh boy, things are getting...
Oh man, that freaking press announcement thing could be memed to hell and back.
Also, Lisa, guess what? Running a nation isn't very easy.
Who'da thunk?
It's almost like it's really, really hard.
Yeah, like, I was reading the Thrawn trilogy in Star Wars recently, and, like, half the plot is to do with actually trying to get the Republic to start working again. So, the entire time that Thrawn is doing his thing with the Imperial remnants and the evil clone Jedi that he's working with is trying to kidnap Luke and Leia so that he can have them under his power. There's also this thing going on where like one of the senators is trying to jockey for more power and is in a conflict with Admiral Akbar over this. And half the tension is, okay, yeah, Leia sort of needs to be on the home front dealing with this stuff, but she also can't be because she has to be in hiding so that the Empire can't kidnap her. So yeah, running a nation is hard. What's going on?
The counts are back and they're causing problems.
That didn't take long.
Nope.
So is Lehavina the lower class area or the higher
No,
class area?
that's the rich area. Can you tell by
Okay.
this guy's mustache?
Look, you can be poor and also have a mustache.
It depends
Can
on
you-
how
can
well
you
kept
really?
it is.
That is some grade A mustache.
Honestly, I feel like it would be cheaper to have the mustache because then you don't have to pay to shave it all the time. Do you know how...
Upkeep is everything.
Listen, it is really expensive to get shaving blades, alright? Like, I mean, I guess not if I used my Some Call Me Johnny code at checkout at dollarshaveclub.com.
Damn, I was hoping you say Manscaped.
Hearing you say the word manscape in a Some Call Me Johnny video is still one of the most...
That was kind of the entire point, though. That's why I took it.
So that you could manscape?
I mean, besides the paycheck.
Would you take the Raid Shadow Legends paycheck, John?
After 7 emails, no.
John, why didn't you?
Because they don't give me monetary amounts, and the only way I'm covering that game, they pay off my student loan.
Listen, John, I've heard how much money they give.
I know, if you're like an up-and-up YouTuber.
Yeah, you're not an up-and-up YouTuber.
Compared to others, no.
I kind of get what you're saying. Like, you're talking about like the million subscriber guys, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because I've seen those tweets. I've seen like people getting close to like $7 grand just to get offered that sort of shit, and it's like, cool, but no.
You're also the people with so many subscribers that you don't necessarily need those $7 grand sponsorships, though.
Yeah.
You can always use more money.
Yeah, they do. YouTube is not doing great.
Exactly,
at the
especially in
moment.
today's climate. Holy
Oh
fuck.
yeah,
But you know, call it laughable or anything like that. I also still have a bit of integrity when it comes to these sponsorship deals. Like, I don't want to plug something that I clearly don't use myself.
yeah.
You know, like Dollar Shave Club, Manscaped, as much as I joke about that, I do pay attention to that sort of thing. You know, but it's like, I don't know. Like, I'm really still uncomfortable about plugging a game, an MMO of all things, that I clearly would not play after 5 hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get you. Ooh, okay. So, why are we fighting, wait, what is this thing? It's like I'm having flashbacks to Sonic Unleashed, to the goddamn, like...
Perfect Dark Gaia.
Not Perfect Dark Gaia, but the thing Chip forms out of the temples to fight it with.
It's called the Gaia Colossus.
The Gaia Colossus, except this is a giant dick monster. So,
Oh, Chaos.
what?
Chaos is the giant dick monster.
He was a giant water monster.
It's shaped like a dick.
Everything's shaped like a dick if you look hard enough, John.
Okay.
Thanks, Sigmund Freud.
Okay, so Chaos Colossus. Okay. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Let's go with that. It's the Chaos Colossus.
Trademark.
Original the character, do not steal. I made the obligatory joke. Laugh at
So
me.
anyway, I made a character shaped like a penis.
Alright, let's see.
So wait, so these guys are going to actually be helpful?
Kind of, not really.
Is it one of those, like, a threat permeates the land so big that all forces have to join and take care of it?
Not really.
Oh, okay.
The rich people were just enjoying the system. They're not necessarily on the council's side, but Lisa kind of sucks at her job.
Yeah, with these kinds of settings, it's not unlike real life, really. It's more what they're more guilty of most of the time is blissful ignorance. Like, they don't think about the ramifications of the social structures they live on, partly because doing so would cause them stress, so they don't.
Or, there are also, people who
there are
benefit
people
from the
who
system,
blatantly
yeah.
benefit, but they're much smaller in number than you would think. Most of the
And
time,
they're usually portrayed as just straight up villains.
well, yeah, especially in Japan, they'd be mustache-twirling cartoon characters, because anime loves those kind of villains. But my point is, the majority of the rich people in these settings are more, like, guilty of not thinking enough about the world around them, rather than being deliberately exploitative. Taking things for granted,
So,
really.
crimes of negligence.
Oh, yeah, I suppose so, yeah. Taking things for granted. Oh, I guess you could say, like, they're so used to being in their particular class that their perspective of reality is based on that class as being the standard and everything else being abnormal. So much to the point where they don't realize that there's just as much of the lower class as there is of the upper class. Sometimes, depending on where you are, there's even more. So their normal is not necessarily like the base average or anything. But it feels like it is because that's all they know.
Perception's a bitch.
Wow, this thing really is just made of fragments of cityscape, isn't it?
Also, this is a very, very fucking long transitional cutscene.
Yes.
I'm getting flashbacks to Sonic Heroes now.
It's got a gun!
It's okay, we can take our own guns and throw it at them.
Well, yeah.
We could, yes.
This thing looks like a Star Fox boss, actually.
Kinda.
Is this like...
Yeah, you fly the R-Wing around it and then shoot the glowy bits.
Entering all range mode.
Okay, so all range mode sucks. I hate it.
Depends on the fight.
Nah, I don't like the Star Wolf fights in particular. I just don't think are very fun in Star Fox. Like,
I think like the bigger the encounter, the better all range mode tends to be.
like trying to track down a ship that small, even if there's 4 of them, I just always find very tedious and not fun, personally.
I'll be the first to admit that I only won the second Star Wolf battle in 64 because 2 of them had the common decency to crash into a wall. You get bonus points for that too if it happens.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm glad it only took like 10 minutes for Lisa to not only realize that she has a conscience, but also mobilize the fleet and get it up here. So, that's lucky. In fact, it happened so fast she probably changed her mind the moment we left her behind.
Probably.
I would laugh if this thing just snapped shut the moment you landed on the inside, like a Venus flytrap.
Can it do
I mean,
that?
I'm sure it could.
Yeah, but this is a really cool set piece, I think. I don't remember the first game ever having any bosses or anything like this.
No, but again, Vita.
Yeah, that's true. But I feel like this
you get
is
to play
more.
this one on a big TV.
This is like almost Shadow of the Colossus kind of styled, which I think makes sense for a game where, you know, you can control gravity and whatnot. So instead of having to climb up it, you can just kind of like walk on it.
Oops.
So wherever its big glowy weak point is, and then kick it in the face.
What I really like is that when you get close to this thing, you actually do get to see in detail what the bits of cityscape it's made of look like, which is not a thing that you would see in a lot of games. In a lot of games, like, you would see in a general sense from a distance that it was made of buildings, but they wouldn't be able to, like, detail that up close. They would probably keep you at a distance so you could only see a general sense of what it was made of instead of getting up close and seeing what the buildings look like. But getting this close and seeing what the buildings look like and how large they are in comparison to you is a good way to emphasize the scale of the thing.
Yeah, as you can tell, it's really fucking big.
Yes. This is like... Is this like the transparently was supposed to be the final boss of the second game until they decided to crunch down the third game and add it to the end of this one?
Nope, not quite.
Okay.
Oh wow.
So we still got more after this. That's actually really interesting.
Yes, but this leads into all that stuff,
I
though,
see.
for the end of the what would have been this game.
Yeah, if it's not final boss, at the very least transitions into events that lead to the final encounter.
Yes.
Although the way you're bouncing off these flowers always seems to bring you closer to the buildings rather than bouncing you away, and that seems a little awkward.
Yeah, this is where the game gets a little bit rough around the edges, if only because it's hard to orient yourself because it's a mishmash of buildings all over the place.
I know Shadow of the Colossus is still like the go-to example of like David versus Goliath-esque boss design, but are there any other games you guys could think of that did that concept just as well?
Like throughout the whole game, in more than just.
Or at least, or a particular event in that game.
I mean, it's super freaking simple, but I really like the Mega Like fight in Galaxy 1. Like, I mean, again, like, as basic of a kind of idea about this kind of thing that you can get, but it's pretty cool. I like it. You walk up and it shoots bullets at you, and then you boop it in the head. I don't know. I thought it was
I
fun.
can't really think of any. I mean, there are a lot of video games that do larger than life boss fights to try and get that sense of scale going, but not a lot of them are necessarily in the same class as Shadow of the Colossus. A lot of it.
I think I forgot, in God of War 3, was it Kronos you're fighting directly?
Yes.
I remember liking that fight. Until you rip off his fingernail. Then
A lot of the time, there's an element of repetitiveness or simplicity or a really obvious goddamn weak point that are used as gamey ways to get around the fact that a little guy fighting a fucking giant ass monster isn't going to work. And most of the time, the games that do this are turn-based RPGs where the size of the enemy doesn't really matter mechanically. So,
but even in an action RPG or something a little more real time, there is that problem of repetition that you mentioned.
yeah.
Because I just reminded of Titan in 15 and the Adamantoise super boss in that same game, where they are legit the largest things you fight in the game, but they are so fucking repetitious.
Yeah.
Well, I think that is a super boss RPG problem where you need to make the fight vary and to not go on for 12 hours or have 20,000 HP, because then otherwise it's
20,000. Ha.
You know, well, it depends on the scale you're going for. Numbers in Final Fantasy are meaningless.
Numbers in Final
Like,
Fantasy are ridiculous, but
that's
Was it 12 with like the 20 million HP boss?
I'm actually googling
Yes.
that now.
Yasmat.
Hang on, Yasmat.
It's Yasmat.
Yeah.
but
Yasmat,
like that,
I think, had 50 million
yes,
HP.
50 million.
that's
Yeah.
one of my big problems with Final Fantasy. Actually, is that the numbers are so bloated that they become.
To be fair,
Meaningless.
Yasmat was the worst they ever gotten. They haven't done it
The
since.
reason it was
I mean, no, that's
the reason it was
true.
like that, the reason it was that much HP is because they were trying to adapt concepts from Final Fantasy XI into a single player game. So they wanted to have a boss that felt like a raid boss, but obviously wasn't a raid boss because you only had one party.
Yeah,
Final Fantasy XI, though, is like in the really early days of MMORPGs, so no one had really figured out what the balance should be in the first place.
And they got in trouble with one boss in particular.
Okay, there was one boss in particular in Final Fantasy XI that they wanted to be literally unbeatable, and whenever someone found out a way around how unbeatable it was, they would patch the game and get rid of that way of defeating them.
Well, until one boss in particular. I think it was either Absolute Virtue or Pandemonium. I think it was Pandemonium that had such an obnoxious means of defeating it, or an absurd HP cap, that it took raiders days to even defeat it, and it had a means of instantly restoring all of its HP.
That just sounds bullshit, and I
It was
wouldn't want to
bullshit.
do it.
It was, and at that point, the developers were literally being obnoxious. They wanted to have unbeatable bosses for the sake of saying that they were
Yeah.
unbeatable.
Some folks, I mean, against their better judgment, got so determined to defeat the thing that they went days without sleeping, and they had health issues, and Square got in big
Yeah.
trouble for it. Oof.
So, yeah, that was the end of that.
Yeah,
Speaking
no more
of the end of-
Pandemoniums.
Speaking of the end of it, that's the end of the part. We'll see you next time for Gravity Rush.